Good morning to those who are in South Korea and good evening to those who are in Brazil. Welcome to day 3 of the 10th edition of Brazil-Korea Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. As we have different panels with a different audience during the 4-day event, we will repeat the opening remarks before we start the panels so that everyone has the same opportunity to comprehend the value of each panel. Our ultimate goal is to create an ecosystem to promote the entrepreneurship relations between Brazil and South Korea with the collaboration of the experts and entrepreneurs engaged in this matter. I am Sujong Ko, and I am founding partner of Golden Up Consulting and founder of the Brazil-Korea Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. Golden Up Consulting is a financial advisory in mergers acquisitions based in São Paulo, Brazil. And through our network and team of experts in and out of Brazil, we support the entrepreneurs and investors to thrive through their business. We have been serving our clients since 2016, and we will complete 7 years next year. In parallel, as an immigrant in Brazil, being originally from South Korea, I was given the opportunity to create a very exciting initiative to support entrepreneurs interested in developing the relations between Brazil and South Korea through a series of lectures by the experts in diverse areas, which operated under the name of Brazil-Korea Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. Since its foundation in 2016, we hosted 9 editions of the lecture series. Before the COVID, we used to host in-person private events with around 50-60 people to share the expertise and experience among the speakers and attendants. Then we had the COVID, and even during that challenging period, we did not stop the project and kept doing our lecture series when we also brought the guest speakers based in different countries such as South Korea and United States. Due to that experience we accumulated, we are today hosting in real time the 10th edition Day 3 with distinguished speakers and participants from South Korea, Brazil, and United States, where many overseas Koreans and Brazilians reside. Therefore, I am deeply honored to welcome our guests to our online events and invite each one of you to make the best use of the following panels during the events. On day 1, we had a very interesting panel on tax issue involving cryptocurrency and ESG. On day 2, we had an exciting panel on cross-border venture capital investment opportunities Brazil-Korea and visa alternatives in Brazil. And in addition, we had the presentation of a Brazilian startup with a technology in mobility and energy, followed by the testimony of 2 speakers who participate in the past editions of the Brazil-Korea Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. Today and tomorrow, we will have more panels on various subjects such as CrossTech, entertainment media, water and sanitation, and energy. So stay with us during these panels. I would like to express my words of gratitude to those who supported us to bring this 10th edition to the reality, including Korea International Trade Association as a co-organizer, BR Visa, Bungjia News 좋은 아침, Korea Foreigner Assist Center, Brazilian Institute for Development of International Business Relations, and many other institutions of great prestige serving the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Brazil and South Korea. Now, I would like to start our program of day 3. First, we are going to have the panel 3 on cross-border. We are going to have CrossTech in Brazil, challenges and current scenario. The moderator of the panel 3 is Yuri Armellei, Head of Products at Banco Hana, Brazil. Yuri is responsible for products and projects at Banco Hana do Brasil. He has 15 years of experience in the banking industry. He has consulted for HSBC, Sicredi, Unicred, Banco Máxima, Sicobi, Bradesco, Banco do Brasil, Porto Seguro, Edered, and as a banker before joining Banco Hana, he has played distinct roles at Santander, Bank of America, Votorantim, and Banco Pan. So welcome, Yuri. The floor is yours. Enjoy our panel on CrossTech. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for the words. Thank you for the amazing job that you are doing putting this event together so far. It's been a real pleasure to attend it and be part of this great moment you are doing here. So, as already Sue mentioned, my name is Yuri and I'm head of product and project at Banco Hana. Banco Hana established in Brazil for 25 years. We are focused on attending South Korean companies and business related. We are mainly focused on FX issues and product, okay? So I thank you all for coming and I welcome to this third day of lectures. And I hope everyone have a great event. I wish that this has been a valuable opportunity to expand horizons and do great networking. And keep moving with the series. At this third panel, we will address the topic CrossTech in Brazil, challenges and current scenarios. The speakers will have 15 minutes to present their ideas and share their thoughts and views with us, and also the subjects that surround the main issue. Each panel will last about 50 minutes, as I said. So we have about an hour of talking. They will guide us to explore the current scenario as well as the technological and regulatory challenges of the cross-border remittance market. Each speaker will have these 15 minutes to present their point of view. And if we have remaining time, you guys can ask your questions through the chat that we'll address to them. So the person responsible for opening this round is Deaglo's head of corporate service, Steve Kulchyk. In his panel, general presentation, brief comments about the cross-border remittance, he will share his vision and make his comments about the moment and the market and where the market is heading to. Next, we will hear from Danillo, Branco, CEO and founder of Finansystech. In his panel, Fintechs is the regulation adopting to market innovation needs. He will share its vision on whether and how the regulator is managing to deal with numerous technological and market innovations. And to close this first period of panels of the night, we'll hear from Raphael Dusi, head of brands and products at DXA Invest. He will tell us how the industry is behaving in the face of digital transformation. In his panel, digital transformation, is the industry adapting fast enough? If you guys have any doubts or questions to the speakers, please share with us through the chat. We'll choose some for them to answer at the end. If we don't have time to address them all today, we'll send the panelists the questions and they will answer you after the event. Remind everyone that each panelist will have 15 minutes for the presentation, and in order not to delay the event, I will monitor the time of the presentations. Without further ado, I share the public with you, Steve. Steve, welcome. The microphone is all yours. But before that, Steve, I'm sorry, I would like to introduce you a little bit better and share your bio with all participants here. So Steve is responsible for the corporate arm of Deaglo's service. He has been in the foreign exchange industry for nearly a decade, working with brokerage in various positions, including sales, execution, and management. In his most recent role, he was the first Canadian employee in what is now a team of over 20 people, and played an integral role in building the team and infrastructure in the Canadian landscape. Steve prides himself in analyzing his clients' specific exposures and goals in developing unbiased effective strategies, and is known across the industry as an expert in risk management. In his prior roles, he did various speaking engagements to several suits executives across medium to large international businesses. Steve also sits on the board of directors of Arctic Horizons Inc., a military defense company out of Canada and Norway. Steve, be welcome. Be welcome. The microphone is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm going to be sharing my screen. I just want to make sure that you can see it. Can you see that there?
Perfectly.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, good evening or good morning to everyone, depending on where you're listening from. Like Yuri was saying, my name is Steve Kulchyk, and I'm the head of corporate services with Deaglo. Just to talk a little bit about what Deaglo does. Deaglo is a fintech that helps investment firms and their portfolio companies quantify and protect against currency risks in both their investments and their operations. So we currently manage over $2 billion worth of annualized transaction volume, with over half of it either going to or being repatriated from Brazil. So needless to say, we have quite a bit of experience in the Brazilian remittance space, and I'm certainly happy to speak to it from a high-level perspective today. So this presentation, it's not going to be 15 minutes. It will be a little bit shorter, but essentially it's meant to be a brief overview of the current cross-border remittance and direct foreign investment environment in Brazil and how far it has come from the not so distant past. So I'll go over new remittance regulations, foreign direct investment, as well as payment and derivative liquidity and pricing, which Yuri, I'm sure you know quite a bit about. So just getting into the past, because I want to kind of paint the picture of how far we've come. In the past, the Brazilian exchange regulation, it didn't really have clear, universally accepted guidelines for the operation of each remittance company. So facilitators actually operated largely under legal opinions, which differed vastly across players. And on top of that, at the time, remittances could really only be facilitated by institutions already operating in Brazil. And what happened from that was it left the sector in a bit of a logjam, since there was little competition, which didn't exactly encourage innovation. Now, that being said, the Brazilian economy has seen a substantial boom in cross-border payments, both in number of transactions and in dollar figures. And as a result, naturally, the cross-border fintech and payments industry, known in Brazil as facilitators of international payments, has grown immensely over the past few years. And we have seen significant progress on all fronts as the competition starts to increase, which is a very good sign. Now, that being said, with the increase in competition, of course, there needed to be regulations to ensure all facilitators of international payments had a level playing field. And in order to accomplish that goal, the Central Bank of Brazil introduced a change in regulation in the form of a new entity type called an EFX. Now, the EFX initiative is in a national service of payments FX market that aims to harmonize the regulation on the use of international credit cards and international payment facilitation businesses. So really what it's trying to do is just have one centralized regulation so that people aren't playing by different rules. One important thing to note, though, is that companies that qualify as an EFX are allowed maximum foreign exchange operations of up to 100,000 US dollars. And what that means is that the bigger players will still handle the larger ticket sizes, which hopefully can change over time. But nonetheless, innovation through EFXs should trickle up to the financial institutions and the brokers, which is just a net positive for the space in totality. Now let's talk a little bit about foreign direct investment into Brazil, or FDI, which has been booming so far in 2022. So in fact, in the first 5 months of this calendar year, foreign direct investment into Brazil has totaled 39.71 billion US dollars, which is actually currently on pace to come in at the second highest reading of all time, trailing only 2011. And just to put that value of recent FDI into perspective, the past 12 months have seen a net inflow valued at approximately 60 billion US dollars, which is equivalent to about 3.45% of Brazil's GDP. Now, to get into the liquidity and pricing piece, this is really where, you know, I spend most of my time in the FX industry. But the remittance of FDI actually, it can see not only as a crucial stimulus to the Brazilian economy, but it also improves liquidity and in turn competitiveness across a larger basket of FX products, from spot payments to non-deliverable forwards and option contracts. Essentially, the more liquidity that there is, the more competitive the pricing could be, because it means that, you know, since both sides of the market need to be filled, there's more buyers and more sellers. So let's take a look at some examples. Now, 2 years ago, the average counterparty cost of executing a $1 million USD BRL FX spot transaction was between 100 and 200 basis points. And I've been in the industry for almost a decade, and I can tell you that even then, you know, from North America at the very least, that was considered good and fair pricing. Today, however, that cost has decreased by 60 to 80%, with the average cost of that same transaction being around 40 basis points, with some large ticket items coming in as low as 5 basis points in some cases. Now, FX derivatives still have a little bit of room for improvement. The pricing of them has gone down in tandem with spot transactions, which is great. But the tenors of the contracts are still not up to par with developed countries. And in our experience, we've seen derivatives fairly priced up to around the 2 to 3 year mark. However, once you try to get farther out, they're either prohibitively priced or not available at all due to a lack of liquidity. One thing as well is, credit risk could also come into play, given that USD BRL is one of the most volatile currency pairs in existence. And institutions surely don't want to be on the hook for losses in the event of defaults. Now, our view in the future is that, we certainly hope to see continued progress in the pricing, liquidity, and speed of various FX transactions. There are certain players in the industry now that have done a very, very good job on all three. But hopefully we can see that be the standard. And yeah, I mean, really what that's going to do is it's really going to entice even more investment into Brazil, and hopefully create even more growth into the Brazilian economy. And those are my remarks. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for sharing the landscape with us. I believe that this decrease that you just pointed out will be shortly explained by Danillo and also Raphael. It's all related, regulatory and technological enhancement. So perfect, thank you. So keep moving on. Now I managed to share the slide here, so I'll share my screen with you guys. Sorry, not doing this before, Steve, but here we go. I hope you guys can see my screen here. So Steve just shared his thought with us. Now we have Danillo Branco. He will be responsible for sharing his thoughts on the Fintechs, is the regulation adopting to market innovation needs. Just to give a quick bio on Danillo. It's important to share that he is a big fan of technology and the financial market, a follower and participant in the open banking movement and in the development of open source solutions. He recently engaged in a personal project called Brazil Open Economics, which aims to increase everyone's knowledge of financial market, in addition to disseminating content that allows people outside this market to understand the impacts of its development. Also, not long ago, he founded Finansystech, the first Brazilian fintech dedicated to building an open finance as a service platform completely based on open source technology. He began his entrepreneur trajectory at the age of 16, entered the world of information technology as a consultant for banks, pharmaceuticals, and telecommunication companies. And as a banker, he participated in Banco Bradesco's trainee program, worked as a service provider at other banks, and represented ABBC in a chair in the Open Banking Brazil Architecture Group of Work. So, Danillo, I welcome you. Please be free to share your view on the matter. The microphone is yours, also the screen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you for your presentation and thank you to attend this meeting. And this good night or good morning. And I should start this with the future is tropical because it's something that we see in the next few years is the evolution of this technology. And the evolution of this technology is in Brazil. And I can explain exactly why this is a true thing. So first of all, besides of the presentation, I'm a family person who likes to do sports, and I was entrepreneur in the early days of my life. I did an MBA in financial markets. I'm also have master degrees in computer engineering, and I'm really like the financial markets, and I really like innovation. And why Brazil? It's unique to have new unicorns, or how we say now, it's more a camel because you need to stand up besides of this bear market that we are facing out. It's just because in Brazil we have a lot of unicorns. With more than 700 unicorns in the world, we have 12. And 12 for a country like Brazil, it's a huge number. This number was exposed by Forbes. And when they say that, it's just because Brazil is so large and we have so much opportunities here that you can leverage your business or do something that you really see this working on in a country who have a lot of types of people. Because we don't have just one type of person who lives here that is someone who have money. We have rich people, poor people. We have a lot of types of people in the middle. And in Brazil, we have like 7 types of revenue classifications of our people here in Brazil. So this type of things, you can see that you need to have the ability to change your product and see this working on in different types of persons, of different types of consumers. Besides of this, the cybersecurity in Brazil is something that you should look. And you should look because Brazil is a pioneer in cybersecurity. We was the first one who used the chips in the magnetic cards in the credit cards in the last year in the 12s in the 2002 or 2001. We was the first ones to use this before United States or another countries in the world. And now we are looking very closely to fraud and how we can protect our financial institutions of these types of attacks. And in Brazil, we don't suffer a lot with attacks. We have a very good cybersecurity activity here. And as Steven said before, we have a lot of things here who is transforming our markets. And one of those is the EFX, but the instant payments that is called as PIX, it's a massive way of doing your payments. We have more than 75 trillion reais transacted in 14 billion transactions in just of 2 years in live. So this is massive. This is massive because the consumer in Brazil really likes to use technology. They really like to adopt this technology. Even they have not the same stability that a person have, but they really like the technology and they like to use this in their lives and ensure that they have a good services. So the digital services, besides of the COVID-19, we leverage the financial services using the digital experience. And to the open finance, Brazil now have the most comprehensive ecosystems of open banking. In the UK, you can say that they have just payments and some sort of data. But here in Brazil, we have a lot of more than just data. We have here the data of your financial activity, but we also have your data about your investments. You can share your data about your insurance, and you can have a better services. So when we look for the outlook of the open finance, and the next step that we have here with the open finance is a playing field that you can evolve your product, or you can use this to build your own fintech or your initiative. And when we look for the regulation, we have some examples here that you can see how the central bank is working with the private sector and doing this type of partnership to involve the technology that is used in your financial systems. The first one is the Lift Lab. The Lift Lab is an innovation program that Finansystech is one who helps the preceded or no yet instituted startups to start our business or see if they can work with. Next is an acceleration program that we have. And after that, if you already have something that you want to test here in Brazil and see if it is work, we have a lot of regulatory sandbox. The sandbox, it's a way that you can test your product and put this to the central bank, and they can help you to see if this is working well or not. We have the same of this, not just with the central bank, but with the securities regulator, that is the CVM, and also with SUSEP, who is the insurance regulator in Brazil. So if you have a business or you want to invest a business that is a regulated business, you should apply for the regulatory sandbox before doing that, just because maybe is a good way to test this if it is okay with the compliance and the regulations. And just a note, but the Brazilian regulation is very close to the UK standard. So if you know a lot of the UK standards for the regulations, the financial market regulations, you can see almost the same with the Brazilian regulation. And going to the end, Brazil is a good choice for financial innovation. A lot of projects here in Brazil, it's well succeeded, but you need to have a strategy. We know that we have a mismatch in the market and in the foreign market, that in Brazil, it's easy to do business. And when they look for the fintech environment, they maybe see a very good way to leverage their business in Brazil. But before doing that, you should look for this type of tools that you have, like the sandbox or like the Lift Lab, to see if this really works in our environment and if you can leverage your business here or if not. So that's all. Thank you all. And if you have any doubt about open finance or regulation, I'm here and you can reach me anytime.
Thank you, Danilo. It's really nice to see how Brazilian Central Bank and our regulators are trying to deal with this fast-changing environment, right? I mean, you can see clearly that they are trying to put up some sort of programs to deal with innovation. I will leave here a question for you to try to answer me at the end of the panel. I would just like to understand more about you. What do you see about the movement since you are really related to open finance, open banking, and so how do you see this open finance movement related to FX, related to current exchange, and so on? I mean, we have few products being released, like Santander and other banks. How do you see it for small and medium enterprises here in Brazil? How can open finance improve our FX? Okay, so keep that in mind. After Raphael presentation, you can bring us an answer. Thank you. So now I'll share my screen once again. So now we have Raphael Dusi. He's head of brand and product at DXA Invest. He will elaborate a little bit more on digital transformation. Is the industry adopting fast enough? And before calling Raphael to take the lead here, so Raphael is partner and head of product and marketing at DXA Invest, the first private equity and venture capital digital manager in Brazil. Raphael, please be my guest, take the lead. The screen is yours, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Yuri.
Okay.
Thank you for the introduction. Also, thank you, Sue, for the invitation. It will be a pleasure to share with you guys a little bit about our story through digital transformation, as well as to provide some info on Brazil's current ecosystem and how if companies are adapting fast enough. So let me just share my screen real quick. So as Yuri introduced me, I can everybody see my screen? Yeah. Oh, you can see. Okay. Okay then. So as Yuri introduced me, I'm partner at the DXA, which is Latin America's first private equity digital manager. We are a private firm that became fintech, so we have a really unique story and matches the theme of this presentation. So I have a background on marketing. I've always worked with startups and innovative companies, and I've worked in Stone's IPO in Nasdaq, as well as VTech's IPO in Nasdaq as well. So my focus on my background is through presenting companies for investors, Brazilian companies to investors. So it would be really interesting to provide this perspective on Brazilian companies to you all. So good evening and good morning to you all. So I would like to first using a framework that was created by Angela Strange, which is a former product manager at Google and is a current general partner at Andreessen Horowitz. So she, in a recent presentation, she was talking about how would you build traditionally a bank. So you have this bank stack, as she says, and you would have to go through many hoops to build one bank, and the barrier of entry was really high. But today, as startups have grown, we've seen all of these stacks being provided as a service through different fintech companies. And this is her, and later she then talks about US companies, US startups that are innovating in their ecosystem. But today I want to bring the perspective of Brazil's ecosystem. So we have over 1,200 fintechs, as the latest report of Distrito, which is the market insight, the main startups market insights company in Brazil. Only this year, in the first quarter, we had over $1 billion invested in fintech companies, and in the last 3 years, it was over $6 billion on fintech companies alone. And of all those 1,200 fintech companies, more than 50% of them are B2B focused. So they are focusing other companies they're serving other companies to have better services, better technology, and provide better service to their clients. So if we wanted to build a bank from scratch, we could pick a few companies here in Brazil, as the stack, as Angela said, which for fraud, we could use Ablexis and Unico, regulatory and privacy law, the DPONet, for data sourcing, ID Wall, for payments, Tone and Yugo, core systems, we could use Doc or Matera, and also Finansystech, we could use it to build a whole bank from scratch, right, Danilo? And so we have a really interesting ecosystem here in Brazil for new companies in innovation of financial services in the region. So we also have going for us a really high tech adoption. As Danilo said, Pix is one of my favorite stories to share with foreigners. I was a few months ago, I was in the Money 2020 sharing the Pix story with foreigners, with other entrepreneurs in the financial and on the fintech global market, and it's really interesting what we could achieve as a country. So we recently reached the record of 53 billion reais transacted in one single day, which is close to $10 billion. We have reached already 51 million users in close to 2 years. And from last year to this year, we've grown the Pix user base has grown 72% in only 1 year. And in this graph by the side, you have the comparison of the growth comparing to Boleto, Stage, and Doc, which are similar to wire checks in the US. And so the high growth graphic is for Pix. So we have a really tech adoption prone population here in the country. So in the investment market, we have seen as well an increase in retail investors in the stock market, and those investors that expect great experience, great UX, and ease of use. So as a private company, we've seen these transformation enablers in Brazil, and the demands for investors to have better experience, and wanted to provide that. So we wanted to build the best way to invest in private equity and venture capital in the region. So we in 2020 we focused on building that, and today we have reached to be we have become a traditional manager that became a fintech. We serve global investors as well as high net worth individuals through totally digital experience, where they can analyze exclusive opportunities, they can invest in them, and they can monitor them with monthly reports. That is something that is not provided in the region, right? So today we have reached over 200 million US dollars under management, and we have analyzed over 600 companies in which we invested only a few of those. So we've become a one-stop shop for private investments for our investors. So I wanted to share real quick the transformation, the digital transformation story of the XA, and it started in 2020 when we found two opportunities to invest in Brazilian companies. The first one was Modern Logistics, which is a one-stop shop for cross-country logistics, founded by experts in the aviation industry, which was more private equity investments. And Secure, which is a cybersecurity company started in Brazil with Brazilian cybersecurity experts, which was more of a venture investment. And we wanted we had a challenge, which was to present investments in a really safe, a really simple, in a controlled manner to our then investors that we already have been managing their investments through many years since we were founded in 2012, which I forgot to mention. So we tackle this challenge, trying to build this digital experience. And we've seen, as I've worked in the IPO, in 2 IPOs, there's Retail Roadshow, which is a way to engage with institutional investors. But it's a really, really big and complex solution and we wanted a more simpler solution. And then there's Dropbox, which is if we didn't want to use data rooms focused on investments, we can totally use Dropbox for investors, but that's not a great experience and it's too simple of a solution. So we wanted to build something more customized, and we finally decided on using a really small platform for giving access to controlled content for our investors, which was Vidyard. It had a really friendly interface for our investors as well. It was password control. So our first product, our minimum viable product, was a landing page with info on one of these companies to our investors so they could understand. And we were focusing on try to educate them through the investments, because we want to engage them on that. And our first observations was that the media was too limited, little to no UX customization, which was a need. We had weak control because you could easily share those info and those passwords with anyone. But the customers engage with the content. They like the idea of being educated of our research of Brazilian companies. But the single most amazing thing that we found out was the customers already wanted to engage through a digital experience to commit to those investment opportunities. So, there was no way to do that then. So we had a next step, which was a new opportunity that we found that later that year of 2020, which was Green People. It's a fresh juice company. It's a cold press juice company. And now we wanted to have media variety, so we could provide access to deep dive reports, to financial statements, as well as those videos, simple videos and contents and presentations that simplified the investments, the research that we did on the company for our investors. As well as we wanted to create users so that now they are users, then they can engage in the platform, they can customize their profiles and all that. As well as we wanted to, most importantly, allowed for the commitment confirmation and to digitally sign everything that they needed to sign through a single simple digital process. So this was our simple stack, which we built under 7 days using Wix for user experience, Pipefy and Zapier for our backend and back office, DocuSign for e-signatures, and Vimeo and Dropbox for sharing the embedded controlled access. So this is our first of our second minimum viable product. It was our second step. As Reid Hoffman says, if you're not ashamed of your first launch, you launched too late. And I'm definitely I'm proud of this milestone for us back in 2020. But it's not one of the it's not an amazing solution. It's just okay. So our users could then create users, and they could engage with our research through our investment thesis, through presentations, through interviews that we have done with the founders of the companies, through the financial statements and deep dive documents, as well as market news and media from the company. And the most important feature of all, they could commit right then at the platform, and then we can follow on with the closing of the investment. So that was our first product that we our second version of our MVP that we built in only 7 days. And what we found out, it was amazing, change our history, which was in under 30 days we raised over almost $3 million, $2.8 million converted in reais, which we were focused on Brazilian investors then. And the feedback for our investors was so great that we decided that we understood that we were on the right process. Our digital transformation was going well. So we decided to double down on that and build a full operation, a full platform for our investors to engage better with our research with their investments and with monitoring of their investments. So before we were only DXA Investments, and we made a subtle change to our branding, which now is DXA Invest, because we are focused on the engagement with our investors. And today they can monitor their investments. They can analyze so we leveraged existing solutions to digital transform ourselves, and we believe that in the region, every company is able to provide better financial services if they leverage other companies, other fintech companies, to leverage to build a great experience for their customers. So today we still can be a local presence, but having global standards of UX, of design, of technology, since now they are pillars to our business. So that's the quick story of digital transformation and how we leverage the Brazilian ecosystem and simple technologies to build a better service to our investors. Thank you. If you wanted to contact me, here's my email, also our website for you to understand more and get to know more of our story.
Great history, Raphael. Amazing how you guys changed the shift and make it happen. I think we could see more stories like this. So we don't have much time to spend around here, but I think I can get back to the question that I did to Danillo. If you agree with it, Danillo and Sue, we can have we have 2 more minutes, so we can have this question answered. I have a few questions here at the chat, and I'll share later with you guys, and then you can directly answer everyone. So that's it, Danillo. Please go ahead.
Okay. So your question was about how Open Finance work together with the FX, and the first one is that FX is like the PIX, should be a payment arrangement that should be put in place in the Open Finance in the next months or the next year. But the main advantage that I see with the Open Finance is more about the initiative that is named as GAIN. It's a Global Assurance Identity Network. It's a global work group that is based, that we have a place there as a Brazilian company, but we have a UK company, India, United States, and other countries, in order to share the data of the person to facilitate what you name as the QIC or the QIP, and prevent the money laundering. When you talk about the FX, the main issue is how I know who is Yuri in his country, and how I know if this is okay to get this money inside of my country. So that is the main issue that we have. And using the Open Finance, you can do this with the consent and working in a security way that you can share your data and say, okay, I'm not a money launderer, I'm not a person, I just want to invest, I just want to take my money to another country.
Great. Thank you, Danilo. So I'll handle the word back to you. So thank you for having me hosting this panel. It was a real pleasure. Please.
Thank you, Yuri, and speakers for the excellent panel. One of the factors to determine for startup to invest and expand into new markets is facility with the payment and security in the cross-border payments, as well as the control and deep understanding on the dynamic on exchange rate volatility. Obviously, no one is expected to have the full understanding of all these matters, especially when we are considering the markets far away from each other, such as Brazil and South Korea. That is why we bring the experts like our previous speakers to share with us their expertise accumulated over the years. This gives us such a stability that we are well equipped by the team of experts that can provide us solid guidelines so that we do not miss the opportunity in new markets. Thank you again, Yuri and speakers, for your preparation and knowledge sharing with us. Your work gives us the hope that we will see an increasing number of companies from Brazil and South Korea working together to maximize the potential in CrossTech sector. Now, let's move on with the panel 4. We expect to close our day 3 event before 10 p.m. São Paulo and 10 a.m. Seoul time. So please stay with us and let's give welcoming to the speakers of our next panel. Our next panel is about doing business in media and entertainment in Brazil. The moderator of this panel will be Fabio Cesnik, partner at CQS FB Advogados. Fabio Cesnik holds a BA in Law and Legal Science from the São Paulo University, USP. Fabio is the Vice President of Institutional Relations in Brazil, California Chamber of Commerce, and specialist in culture, media, and entertainment. He has been for 9 years in role ranked in chambers and partners as specialist lawyer in media and entertainment. Fabio is former chairman of IASP's Media and Entertainment and member of SP São Paulo Bar Association Rights to the Art Commission. Fabio is a lawyer licensed in Brazil and Portugal and member of the California Bar as foreign legal consultant. Fabio, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sue, for inviting us. So our idea here in this panel is give you a little sense for everybody about how is the landscape for the media entertainment market in Brazil. So I try to, in the beginning, presenting a little bit about the numbers and the different fields of the media entertainment sector to have a better sense about how is the market in Brazil. And after that, I will turn the word to my partner, André Megali, who will be talking about the corporate laws in Brazil, how to establish in Brazil. And in the end, I will revert also to my other partner, Guilherme Carboni, who will talk about the data protection, IPs, what's super important for the entertainment sector. And we still have in the head of the panel, Youngman Kang, the founder of the CU WebFest, who is already with us. So giving his remarks about business that he has been doing with Brazil. So, and let's see if we can run quick. So before 10 p.m., we can have still time for a few questions. Let's see if that's possible. So I will share my screen here. I will promise that I can share this presentation with Sue later, so she can share with everybody. Don't need to take notes. But what everybody seeing? So the idea is just try to consolidate a bit an overview of the Brazil media entertainment market. So general numbers, as you already saw in other panels in this seminar, but Brazil has this population of 214 million people. We have a GDP growing year over year, and also a per capita income of almost $7,000, which is lower than US and South Korea, which is around $35,000. But with a population that consumes entertainment, that consumes internet, so it's pretty huge population and great market. We have communities, as you know, like from all over the world, including the Koreans. Brazil has around 5,000 Koreans living in Brazil, most of them in São Paulo as Sul, so they live in São Paulo, 92% of them. Also, we have a huge internet penetration in the country, most through the mobile phones, but it's really amazing the number of mobile smartphones that you have. You have more mobile smartphones than population itself. So some people have 2 different phones for maybe call cheaper for between the same operator or something like that. So, but it's pretty huge amount of mobile smartphones registered in Brazil. In an increasingly digital economy and society, with always is super important for the media and entertainment market. So people spend a lot of time on the internet. Is the third most spending in time in the internet globally speaking, and super popular with all the social media platforms. Brazilians really love the social media. Regarding the entertainment, just to have a better idea about the landscape. So the music market is huge in Brazil. So it's a $1.1 billion in 2026, a market growing 8.3%. And we have, which is interesting, all the areas of entertainment is pretty much the same thing. We have a market with a lot of people, more than 200 million, as we said, that kind of consumes a lot of local content. So the most popular artists in music in Brazil are the Brazilian sertanejos, the Brazilian country music. So it's really great how Brazilians consume their own music. They have a huge broadcast called Globo. So we have famous actors and actresses and directors that are famous in Brazil, but sometimes not that famous outside. This is happening now that all these platforms, such as Spotify, such as Deezer, they are bringing Brazil more connected with the world. So Brazil, since the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, are consuming more international music, are more open to understand what people are producing in other parts of the world, and also artists are looking for be more outside. For this reason, we have several deals that call our attention. So Sony Music just acquired the main independent label in Brazil, named Som Livre, that used to it was a global, which is the main broadcast record label. And you have several deals that I mentioned here, like huge festivals, building of arenas, like Live Nation is building the first arena in São Paulo, a huge market for podcasts. So it's really growing in different areas of the music sector. Regarding the cinema and TV and OTT markets, we have for sure in the entire world cinema having the revenues going down, but we by 2026 will be surpassing the 2019. And as I said, so Brazil cinema probably is the most strong presence of the US in Brazil, but we still have 21.7% of market share. So Brazilian films that are producing, and it's more in television. So Brazil is famous for the telenovelas and other content that we produce in TV. So the traditional TV and home video, we still have the cord cutting effect, but still growing. I think the market was not that saturated. So you'll be growing 0.09% in next couple of years, and also marketing growing for TV advertising. Another important point is OTT. So people are subscribing more and more OTT platforms. All the international platforms are available in Brazil, and we also have several local players such as Globoplay which is one of the main platforms in Brazil. And now the OTTs, I think this is around the world, but they are entering the sports fight. So really, they are bringing Champions League and all the football and news for inside the platforms, which is kind of increasing the competitiveness of the OTT market. But really, a market that's growing 9.80% and growing and going to almost $1 billion in 2022. The gaming market, I think, is the bigger one. We have a huge consuming market for video games, $2.2 billion. We are 50% of the revenue of the region, so the entire Latin America. And a lot of mobile gaming, since you have a lot of mobile access of the internet. So this is why you have that much available mobile games. So here is just a list about games that people are playing a lot in Brazil. A little bit about consumer behavior. And you see like that you have a most female market, which is interesting. And 70% of the players play mobile games, 83% of players made an app purchase in the last 6 months. So people want to access, want to buy content online. And also in the esports side, we have several companies like doing great. One of our clients, Loud Team, they have doing such a amazing job. So they are right now the first esport organization to hit 1 billion views on YouTube. So it's really huge what they are doing. Beside of that, Brazil is also a creative hub. So we have several video game developers. So Wildlife was a video game developer in Brazil, which is the Brazil first unicorn in the gaming sector. We have more than 350 game development companies in Brazil and spread all over the country. And beside the cities that I mentioned here in the presentation, we also can include Pernambuco, which is a great hubby for game in the north of Brazil. And I'm seeing more and more M&As related with video game. I think we did few in the several 2 years, 3 years. So people are looking what Brazilians are producing and they want to incorporate companies and this is boosting a lot the market. So this is my initial words just to get our appetite to look Brazil and see how exciting it is for the media entertainment sector. I will let my partner Andrea to present a little bit of the landscape for doing business there, and after him Carboni. So and you'll be open for conversations with you. So Andrea, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Hi, let me share my presentation here.
Oh, how by the way,
okay.
Besides of the being an excellent partner
Okay.
and corporate attorney, Andrea was also a few months ago, he was working as the compliance officer for the Brazilian Confederation of Football. So he's really deep in sports.
Okay, thank you, Fabio, very much. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I will briefly go to this presentation on the doing business in Brazil. It's just a few minutes, so I would try to do this very quickly, trying to share some basic thoughts with you. So I will start with some Brazilian corporate scenario, a brief background. Then I will go to how to invest, very basic insights, some insights as well, some lines on the types of legal entities in Brazil. And then I will conclude by saying about some emerging markets within this the scope of our panel, which is entertainment and media. So currently, Brazil has a very good atmosphere for foreign investments. Of course, we have at the end of the year the federal elections, which makes us a bit unstable on this side. But in any event, on a general term, we are at now a very good point to receive investments. I will say three main things that I understand is a good starting point for this conclusion. First of all, as many of the speakers today said, Brazilian Central Bank has been developing a lot of modern concepts. I bring two here: the electronic registration of investments in Brazil. So any investments done from abroad to Brazil are registered before the central bank, and they developed a very efficient way to register within a couple of days. This registration, which is very good for the investments. Also, the modernization of Brazilian methods of payments, as we heard in today, PIX, FX, Open Bank, which is a very modern way of sharing data from investors to get better opportunities in the market. Also, the stock exchange in Brazil used to be owned by the brokers and were spread in states in Brazil. And now Brazilian Stock Exchange has unified in São Paulo and recently merged into the over-the-counter market, one of the biggest over-the-counter market in Brazil. So today we have a unique place to negotiate the bonds and shares of the listed companies, which is very good. It's very high tech, our Brazilian stock exchange. So again, another very good atmosphere and environment for the investors in Brazil. And also the corporate scenario we have in from, if I'm not mistaken, 2016, Brazil has signed the convention, the Hague Apostille Convention, which Korea is also a member, making that all documents to be exchanged from these countries be accepted in a very friendly and simple way, formality. Before that, we had to pass through consulates, the documents and the notary publics. Now, just this measure makes the investments in Brazil very more simple. And also we have today less bureaucracy to incorporate new companies and register corporate acts before the commercial registry across the country. So I think giving some examples to conclude that Brazil today is a very good harbor for foreign investments. Now, jumping on how to invest, more practical insights, very basic as well, but still something that we normally do a lot in our office. So the initial concerns to invest in Brazil, all the foreign investors, even if they are resident abroad, they need to be enrolled before the tax authorities, the general taxpayers registry, if it's a legal entity, or individual taxpayers registry, if it's a individual to invest in Brazil. And also these investors, foreign investors doing business in Brazil, need to have a legal representative resident in Brazil. Either the investor has to have this legal representative in Brazil, or the Brazilian company as well, if incorporated in Brazil, needs to have this legal representative in the country. So from this point, I just share two ways of investing, just main and basic ways to invest in Brazil. There are many others, but just basics. So one, I elected one financial oriented investment that would be through capital markets. So if a foreign investor decides to invest just to get profits out of this investment, it could be done through investment funds, for instance. I just pick here some that we are used to, very familiar to work in our firm: real estate funds, the ESG funds. There are many projects addressing issues in the Brazilian rainforest, Amazonia, which needs investments, some social investments. All these funds addressing the ESG agenda are very hot today in Brazil. Financing as well, startups, Fintechs, film productions, all these funds. It's a financial oriented investment because you invest funds and let the management of the fund to decide based on the regulations of the fund how to invest these funds. Or on the other hand, business-oriented investments that I would elect here, expanding some your business in Brazil. So in equity, you can incorporate a Brazilian subsidiary from the foreign group, for instance, that in certain field of activity, or acquire interest in an existing company in Brazil. In this case, we would go through those processes that you all know of due diligence of the target companies and the M&A documents and agreements to be executed. Or it could be done as loan if sometimes there are some the time is of the essence to carry out the investment, so it is done by through loans. So the foreign investments, the foreign companies provide loans to the Brazilian companies. They conclude the loan agreements to bind the Brazilian company, and this loan agreement should be repaid on a later stage or converted into equity on this later stage. All these investments, of course, are apply these initial concerns and should be subject to registration before the Central Bank of Brazil. The types of legal entities, just very broad concepts. We have the majority, great majority, I would say 99% of the companies are limited liability companies, our how we call how Brazilian calls limitada, sociedade limitada. Of course, the main feature of this company is that the responsibility of the quota holders are limited to the capital effectively paid. And there are many, but just one example of a good point of the limitadas is that there are some flexibilities on the distribution of profits. So the foreign investors sometimes need to repatriate some investments, and it can be done without the proportion of the quotas held in the quota capital of the company. There are also the SAs, the Sociedade Anônimas, the corporations, which are shares companies. They are represent 1% more or less of the existing companies in Brazil, because they are, of course, they have more complex corporate governance. They need to have some bodies in the management of the corporation. But on the other hand, there are some good points, and one of them I can say is the less publicity of the cap table of the corporation. Of course, it is public. It is registered before the commercial registry, the shareholding of the company, but it is done in the books of the company. So it's not the bylaws of the company does not contain the names of the shareholders, which gives some privacy to the shareholders. And of course, the assignment of shares is done without the necessity of amending every time the bylaws. You can just purchase or sell shares through registration of the books of the company. There are also other types of companies, but they are very less relevant. And sometimes we advise the implementation of these companies according to the specificities of the deals that they are brought to us. Last but not least, just to mention some of the emerging markets that I understand you should bear in mind when thinking about investing in Brazil. As Fabio just said, games industry is a huge market in Brazil. Of course, deals in this industry are very specific. The assets of the Brazilian companies are the individuals that develop the games. So the deals are done with this focus. It's a bit different of the current, the regular M&A deals. The audiovisual market, of course, is a huge market in Brazil, growing and emerging marketing. This market, of course, is tied to this outcome of the elections, I would say, but in any event is a huge and huge opportunity for investment. We have been doing quite a few deals in this market in the firm. And very last point is the sports industry in Brazil, especially football. We know Brazilian football is a huge place to invest. Everybody wants to know when and where the next Neymar will appear. We know he will appear. We just don't know when and where. And recently we had a new law amending the federal law for sports in Brazil, giving more giving benefits to the clubs, which now are the vast majority of the clubs are associations in Brazil. And this law gives benefits to the companies, to the clubs, for them to become corporations or LLCs. And by doing so, they become very attractive for receiving foreign investors and be eventually sold to foreign investors as a whole. It has been done already in a few clubs with quite success results. And we see in the firm this market as a huge opportunity for foreign clubs or foreign investors willing to invest in Brazil, acquiring clubs here, preparing young players to sell abroad. We see this as within the entertainment market, we see like that, big opportunity for investments in Brazil. So that's what I was planning to say. Thank you very much for your attention. And Fabio, I pass the floor to you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. It was great and a great overview of our corporate rules. I like also to invite now my partner Guilherme Carboni to share a few words with you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sue, very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure. I'm very happy to be here. Well, my intention is to give you a very quick overview on the main aspects of intellectual property and personal data rights in Brazil, which are important issues when we are talking about investments in media and entertainment in our country. So I have a presentation I'm going to share with you. It's a mind map. Just a second. So, okay. Well, first, the IP protection in our country. We can say that Brazil is a safe harbor in terms of IP protection. We are signatory of the main treaties in intellectual property, such as the Paris Convention for Industrial Property Rights since the very beginning, the Berne Convention for the International Protection of Copyrights, also in the very beginning. There are other agreements and other treaties. I'm just talking about the main ones. This one is the annex of the WTO Agreement on Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights. In Brazil, we call TRIPS. Which is a very important agreement. It entered into force in our country in 2015, and very recently we became a signatory of the Madrid Protocol. It was in 2019, which allows our country to receive trademark applications from other countries, and also to extend Brazilian trademark applications to other countries. So it facilitates a lot, and we work very, very much with these treaties for our clients when they want to extend the protection to other countries, and specifically in the field of media entertainment for platforms, for example. We have lots of clients which are platforms, and they want to protect trademarks not only in Brazil but in several countries, and in all these cases the Madrid Protocol helps a lot. We can talk about trademarks, and here I have some examples from the gaming industry. Brazil, like in other countries, the trademark, for the trademark protection, it's mandatory to have a registration before the Brazilian Patent and Trademark Office, which is our INPI. So registration is mandatory, and when we have license agreements, trademark license agreements, there are some limitations for the remittance of royalties to other countries. In Brazil, when we are talking about related companies, we have a limitation of 1% of the net sales of the products. In terms of patent protections, like trademarks, registration is mandatory as well. And we also have limitations for the remittance of royalties to other countries. The percentages are limited to 5%, depending on the field of industry we are talking about. Of course, protection for copyrights, and differently from the prior ones, the copyright does not need a registration, so registration is optional. And when we are talking about the copyright protection for software, because in Brazil, software is protected by copyright, registration can be done in the INPI as well, despite the fact that it's protected by copyrights. And for works in general, the registration can be done in the Brazilian National Library, but we have private platforms in which we can do the registration, so we don't need to go, since the registration is not mandatory, we don't need to register in the official National Library. But when we talk about media and entertainment, the copyright field, of course, is very important, and here we could spend hours talking about contracts and agreements. For example, license agreements. We work very much with license and copyright assignment agreements, co-production when we are working for audiovisual productions, and so on. I mean, agreements are our main job when we are talking about intellectual property in this field. And so we could spend hours and hours here just talking about the agreements. But I would like to call your attention in terms of how they are protected in our country, and again to say that all these elements of intellectual property are very much protected in Brazil. Now, I would like to spend some few words in terms of technology transfer agreements, because things changed in our country. We used to be very bureaucratic in terms of for obtaining a registration from the INPI for technology transfer agreements. And in some cases, it was really hard. We had to modify agreements, and especially because in Brazil, we don't have laws which expressly say what is allowed or not, and so we have to trust on the examination, the INPI examinations understandings on such agreements. But now things changed, and we have less restrictions. And here, when we are talking about technology, we are talking about non-patented technology used for manufacturing of products. This is the definition of technology in our country. And we still adopt the model of the transfer of the technology, which means that when the technology comes to our country, it must remain here. And things changed a little bit, and now it's possible to, for example, execute license agreements in terms of technology. So when the agreement ends, the licensor of the technology can have it back, which was not possible a few years ago. But we still have limitations for the payment of royalties, like patents, for example, and the limitation goes up to 5%, depending on the field of industry. And registration is, of course, mandatory, especially for the remittance of royalties abroad. And in this case, the agreement must also be registered with the central bank. Let's now turn a little bit. I would like to spend some few words. It's a issue that's related to intellectual property. It's very important, especially now for doing business in our country. Because and so I understand it is very important for you to know that in Brazil we have a very recent law regarding data protection, personal data protection, which is in Brazil we call the LGPD, which is the General Data Protection Law. Which was enacted very recently. It was on August 14, 2018. It's totally based on the GDPR, the European GDPR. We have sanctions for the non-compliance of such law, so companies must pay attention. We are now doing LGPD compliance jobs, which means we work on the compliance of companies and organizations to the LGPD. So it's important to pay attention on that, especially if we are working with platforms, even in the field of media and entertainment, when the platforms collect data and other kinds of data, personal data collected by such companies. So in terms of the LGPD compliance, it's important to have in mind, according to the law, that it's important to have a data mapping in which we map the data flow, and we have to document all this information. And it's important to adopt security measures So we work very closely with the information technology department. It's important also to have good privacy policies in terms of use. We draft these documents or reviewing depending on the case. It's also important to have a plan for incident response in case of any kind of incident involving personal data. And finally, we also work on training and awareness, which is also important for the company to understand and to internalize all these ideas that the law brings, because since it's something we can say new in our country, is not only the matter is not only to build and to draft all these documents, but also to make that people to understand the importance of all these things and to put this in practice in a company and in an organization. So I think that's it. I would like again to thank Sue for the invitation. We would be very happy to assist you in doing business in our country. And that's it. I'm here and open for any questions or clarifications. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carboni. I'd like to now call my friend Youngman Kang, founder of the CU Webfest and filmmaker. So to share words about his relation with Brazil and kind of deals that has been doing over the years. Welcome, Young.
Hi, Fabio. Okay, thanks for inviting me for this wonderful panel. Thanks for Sue and also Fabio again, and also other panelists. So I think this is my second or third time doing this, the panel with the Brazilian and Korean. Okay, my name is Youngman Kang, just call me Young, and I'm a filmmaker and also a founder and festival director of Seoul Webfest. So my first of all, my background was a filmmaker. I used to live in Los Angeles about 18 years, and now mostly live in Seoul, but still travel all over the world doing my entertainment business. First of all, we have great time these days because Korean series became very big hit, and also a few days ago, our series Squid Game won the Emmy Award. 6 awards was amazing. So I think it's a great time, especially also I'm organized the Webfest for specific for the series for internet OTT platform. There was a perfect time. When I founded 2015 first event, then actually not many people knows about the series and then what's the web and what's the OTT platform. But now everybody knows and everyone want to jump in this business. So now we have a great time. So let me talk about my through my background, how I become working, especially the Brazilian filmmakers, creators. We call the creators, and also one of our very important partner in Brazil, Rio Webfest. So how we became the partner through my background, then how my job extend to more business field, and also how I used to work with the other countries, such as Brazil and the European country, also United States, through my background. So I think this is a great time for me introduce myself. So when I was working as a filmmaker in Los Angeles, I made a movie and finish one project and go to next project and doing over and over again, but still it's like daily grind, like still same style. So I was wondering, how can my job more expand to the business field? Nowadays, it's called the branded series or branded contents. And also, how can I work with other country, like co-production, like co-produce with other country. So slowly, it became actually achieve the goal. So through 2000 until 2008 and 2010, still I used to doing traditional the filmmaking. And 2005 YouTube actually first launched the video. Then 2010 the first festival, film festival, but it's called the film festival, but it's first festival for web. So Los Angeles Web Series Film Festival, first year 2010. So this entertainment industry slowly like write new history, movement from traditional filmmaking into web, like a new technology. So at that time, I didn't discover the Los Angeles Web Series because still the YouTube content, the video quality is very low. Also, the internet speed is very slow. But 2013, I was invited to that event, Los Angeles Web Festival. Then I was so fascinating. Oh, this is going to be like a new wave. This is going to be change the world. So since then, slowly my whole career moved from traditional filmmaking into the web. Then eventually, 2015, I set up and found first web series festival in Seoul, in Asia. So 2014, I met one of creator from Brazil, from Rio. So his name is Leandro. Now actually he also found and festival director in Rio Web Fest. So we are same history. So even Rio Web Fest launched in 2015, and now both of us really good partner. Then we are 8th edition this year. So our Web Fest already finished a few weeks ago. Then Rio Web Fest is coming up in November. So we became very friends and we exchange content. Also, we kind of visit and invite to the event and make a network and expand our create, like co-produce the content to countries. So through those network, I met one of Brazilian creator, he's an animator. So we co-produced one episode of animation. So now showing on the YouTube. Then slowly we try to co-produce more. So those things is, I think, really good time for us doing together two countries, Brazil and the South Korea. Especially everybody knows how the web very important, especially South Korea. I don't know much about in the Brazilian the industry, but South Korea now, even regular people like a doctor or a lawyer, even the teacher, many of them, even regular business, even they are not filmmakers, but they have their own YouTube channel. They make their own content with the storytelling, especially as long as you have this the smartphone, there is all possibility in these days. As the business-wise, it's the internet, the network. It's a whole like paradigm is changed these days. So that's why our job, our industry people, so busy these days. So everybody want to jump in this field. So I think now is a next level is how we can do working together, 2 countries, even 3 countries that together make more expand our goal, because now is a good timing, perfect for rich technology like internet, also easy to travel. So most important thing I think is the network, meet people face by face in person. I think that's most important thing. Then build a relationship, became friends. That's why I did all my project, co-produce also the partnership, all the global web best, now 50 web best in the world. So every year keep expanding, because through a network, actually through a meeting, like I met Leandro 2014 in Los Angeles, and we became friends, and we both of us set up the web best, and now we do everything, expand the content. So I think even not only us, also other businessmen, also I think the same principles. So that's why I mentioned a little bit about my background, what I'm doing these days. So thank you so much, even like a quick shot. And any question, then please email to Sue. Then I will give you more answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Young. It was really great to hear. And you were like talking about filming, and someone in the chat also asked about film co-production with Brazil. No, how is that work? So maybe trying to give to everybody a general idea, but a movie to be considered a Brazilian movie or a TV series be considered Brazilian, they have, let's say, 3 hypotheses that they can consider something as Brazilian. So one is be produced and all the rights belong to a Brazilian company. So this is one way, a Brazilian independent production company. Second way would be produced using of one of the treaties that Brazil have with several countries. So we have treaties with UK, with Germany, with Argentina, so with different countries of the world. So we could use one of these agreements in order to co-produce something. And the third hypothesis is co-produce with a country that Brazil doesn't have a co-production agreement, which means that Brazil should own 40% of the IP at least, and have 2/3 of the cast and crew, like the main cast and crew. So if you have, let's say, lead actors, directors, photography directors, so these kind of people, 2/3 must be Brazilian. One thing that we have been doing in order to kind of avoid this tough regulation for 40% or 2/3 and trying to build more natural partnership is trying to bring a third country. A few years ago, we didn't have agreement with UK, and I had a UK production company asking us to try to set up a co-production deal with them. So we use the German, Brazil, with a German partner. So we brought a German partner, used the Brazil, Germany co-production agreement, and Germany has a co-production agreement with UK. So we pretty much added UK as the third country. So we set up all the structure using one agreement that Brazil already have in place. So this is the kind of thing that we can do. I know that also Ancine signed, I think 10 years ago, a cooperation protocol with South Korea, trying to start a relationship. And I think we should boost and encourage more and more things together. So coincidentally, I'm here in Los Angeles, and today I had a meeting with an executive of the industry, and he was explaining me the process, what's going on with the industry here, and he told me, oh, the really disruptive moment for us was the moment that Parasite won all the Oscars, because this is really, I think most of the people here in LA realize, oh my God, this is not that simple. So international content have at this point considered more importance than before. So they started to be more open and do more things together. I know that now one of the studios here, WIP, which was a CAA studio, and they sold because of all the fight with the writers and everything. So now is acquired by South Korean company. So we have several South Koreans in the Brazilian market and also here. So it's really something that me, Andrea, or Carboni or our other partners and Young that know these two territories, so we could help anyone to set up any deal related with the media entertainment field that you might have with Brazil. So I don't know if you have questions for the audience. I know that we are running out of time, but I will return the word to you so you can see if there is any other question that you should address, or if you should wrap up the seminar for today. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. See you in LA soon.
Perfect.
Yes, due to the time, so let's close our day today. So thank you for the panel, Fabio and the speakers. So Fabio is also our great ambassador of Brazil and South Korea in Los Angeles, California, where he's currently based. Los Angeles is the city that hosts one of the largest Korean communities in the world. Therefore, hopefully, we will also see our Brazil and South Korea hub in Los Angeles through Fabio's leadership. So during our event, we had the participation of the representatives of the Korean companies, governmental body in international trade and open innovation, think tank based in Seoul, specialized in Brazil and South Korea, as well as the private initiative in foreigner assistance in South Korea. This demonstrates that we have leaders in South Korea who are deeply engaged and interested in developing the entrepreneurship relations between Brazil and South Korea. There is no doubt of the power of media and entertainment to strengthen the bond between Brazil and South Korea, as there are so many talents in game, sport, music, movie in both countries that could contribute in a positive way. This also matches perfectly with one of the previous panels we had on cross-border corporate venture capital opportunities, Brazil-Korea, where the investors and entrepreneurs could also make a great use of the sectors such as entertainment, lifestyle through the technology in new markets. Once again, thank you, Fabio and speakers, for your contribution to our panel 4 to increase our level of knowledge in such an interesting topic. With this, we would like to close our day 3 of the 10th edition of Brazil-Korea Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. The day 4 and closing day will follow tomorrow with more panels, and we all look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you again for your attention and strong interest in staying with us throughout the panels. Have a great day to those who are in South Korea, and good night to those who are in Brazil, and good afternoon, Fabio, and see you tomorrow, our last day of the 10th edition. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
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 Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.